It's been great, and she's been a little piece of heaven, but taking care of two small ones is a lot of work. No one thought that the royal escort would be the scene of one of the most awkward royal moments in years. But when Camilla's granddaughter said something unpleasant that made Princess Charlotte cry, the future king lost his cool. What happened next wasn't a royal scandal. It was a calm reckoning. Prince William didn't say anything in public, but his next step shocked everyone at the palace. So, what actually went on behind the scenes? Get ready, for this story will change everything you thought you knew. Every year there's one occasion on the royal calendar that shows off the finest of British tradition. A day when feathers, fascinators, and formality come together in the most beautiful way. The grounds are beautiful, the carriages shine, and the mood is just electric. It's the kind of party where you may see dukes in top hats drinking champagne, superstars rubbing shoulders with aristocracy, and cameras flashing from all sides. It's not enough for the royal family to just turn up. It's about looking well when you show up. This year was no different. As usual, people lined up for hours before the official opening, hoping to see the royal family in their best seasonal clothes. The grass was newly cut. The horses moved smoothly around the tracks like well-oiled machines, and the weather was perfect with a lovely summer wind that made every dress and cap look alive. The younger royals were the stars of the show among the new arrivals. Princess Charlotte walked hand in hand with her mother and seemed quietly confident. This confidence seemed to grow with each passing year. Her attire was basic but classic, just like Kate's style. But it wasn't just about style. The way Charlotte welcomed guests, bowed nicely at photographers, and chuckled gently with her brothers was really interesting. She acted much older than she was for someone so young. This unidentified yearly event has long been a link between the past and the present in terms of royal prominence. William and Kate have made it a family event, while past generations used it to enforce rules. One where their kids can do regal duty without losing their humanity. And that's what made the day so great. It wasn't planned. It wasn't chilly. It seemed real. You could see it in the small thing. George uncomfortably fixing his collar. Louis pointing at horses with big eyes and a lot of joy. Charlotte said something to her mum that made them both giggle. People loved it. People who wrote about it liked it. And for a time everything seemed to be in its right position. The event itself was huge. There were thousands of people there. There are beautiful marquees all across the estate. Under the sun, rows of white chairs and royal flags waved. The sound of glasses clinking and traditional folk music. Staff proceeded quietly and carefully, showing VIPs to their seats. Talking was easy. The wine did too. But no one could have guessed that this seemingly ideal day would take such a drastic turn, even with all the glitz and glamour. That there would be an encounter at some point between the second race and the walk to the special family area. Not very loud, huge in effect. A conversation that would make Prince William stop in his tracks. One that would have effects that went far beyond that day's plan. One terrible sentence can change everything, even in a crowd of thousands. And no one knew that was going to happen. So what did William do after the race was over and the crowds left? Stay with us. The words that hurt more than crowns. It started out as a moment that no one saw. One of those peaceful moments in a hectic day, when the sound of horses galloping and the rustle of silk skirts in the wind are all about you. Charlotte had moved away from the main lawn to relax in the shadow of a royal tent. Adults talked and drank champagne as kids ran around and played in the safe area, laughing and whispering. Kate was a few feet away, talking quietly with a royal assistant. It looked like everything was fine until it wasn't. Earlier that day, a longtime family friend of the royals gave Charlotte a tiny flower pin that had been made by hand. It wasn't anything fancy. It was just a modest violet decoration, fashioned of lace and soft felt. But Charlotte adored it right away. She had pinned it just below her collar, and examined it repeatedly, appreciating how it moved in the wind. As the afternoon went on, Charlotte ended up standing next to Lola, Camilla's granddaughter. Lola, like Charlotte, was well-dressed and well-behaved. She wasn't a royal by blood, like Charlotte, but she had grown up close enough to the family to feel like she belonged, at least on the surface. The girls weren't really buddies. They were close, but not close enough to be intimate. But they were often put together at occasions like these because they were young, good-looking, and simple to deal with. Today was the same. They stood close to one another again, smiling for the people around them, and gently nodding to distant cousins. Everything looked great on the outside until Lola reached out and touched the flower pin without warning. "Where did you obtain this?" she asked. In a flat tone, Charlotte smiled and lightly ran her fingers over it. "This morning, Auntie Jules presented it to me. Isn't it nice? Lola didn't say anything. Instead, she pulled on it. Charlotte swiftly stepped aside and said, "Hey, don't. It's important to me." Lola's lips turned into a smirk. "It simply felt, not real, Jules. Why are you acting like it's a crown?" Charlotte blinked because she didn't know what to say. Lola kept going, her voice still calm but piercing. "You always behave like you're superior than everyone else. Exactly like your mom. She acts like a queen, but she's not one." "Yes, my grandma is." The air between them changed. Charlotte remained still, not sure if she had heard wrong. Lola said, "She's just pretending. People talk about it all the time." Charlotte's face shifted, and her eyebrows furrowed. "And you," Lola went on, lowering her voice just enough so that no one else could hear. "You won't be a queen, you're going to get married. Nice dress, great smile. Then gone. That's what girls like you are good for." That was it. Charlotte stepped back as if someone had pushed her. No shouting. No crying. Not yet, though. There was only a startled hush. She turned and walked quickly across the yard to Kate. No words, only the same flower pin on her collar, which was now a little crooked, and her fingers shaking as she reached for her mother's hand. Kate looked at her daughter's face and understood right away. She knelt down, hugged her tightly, and didn't ask. She didn't need to. William saw them from a short distance away. He was talking to his dad when the discussion halted. His face transformed right away. Brows low, mouth tight. He crossed the distance in a matter of seconds. What happened next wasn't very exciting. It was on purpose. The kind of silence that makes you feel like you're shouting. A glance at Charlotte. Kate gave a nod, then a long pointed look at Lola. He didn't say anything in front of anybody. But did the people who were watching see the small clues that something bad had happened? Stay with us to learn more. Kate didn't say anything. In William's response, Charlotte didn't say anything, not at that time, not even when Kate knelt down and held her close. She just leaned into her mother's arms and buried her face in Kate's shoulder, as if the words she had just heard had frozen her from the inside out. The flower pin that used to be so pretty was now a little crooked and hung loosely from her collar. Kate's hand moved to cover it without thinking, keeping Charlotte still, calm and safe. Prince William could see something was awry from a distance. He was unsure at first. People observed him every move he made in public. His expressions were like red headlines. But as soon as he saw Charlotte's eyes, that doubt was away. Glassy, vast, and looking for something that made sense. William walked across the yard in a few great strides, forgetting what he was saying to King Charles. He squatted down next to them. Kate looked up with that same serenity that was hard to read that she always had in times of trouble. For a brief moment, their eyes met, but that was all it took. There was no need for her to explain. She didn't have to utter Lola's name. William got it. He got up and twisted. Camilla's granddaughter Lola was only a few feet away, ironing her jacket and fixing a pearl clip in her hair. You couldn't tell what she was thinking. She wasn't in tears. She wasn't upset, just standing there like nothing had happened. William passed by her carefully, close enough that he could have said something, but he didn't do that. He barely looked at her for a second, with his jaw tense and his lips pressed together. Lola didn't show any signs that she noticed the change, but some people did. The energy shifted. The warmth that always came after the Cambridges had gone. He went over to his daughter, put a steadying hand on her back, and then, without saying anything, he took his family away from the gathering. There is no formal exit, no announcements from staff. They just went beyond the royal security curtain, leaving behind an occurrence that was now quietly unsettling. William didn't sleep that night, even when the estate lights were out and the press sent in their glossy photo recaps of the day. Later, sources inside Kensington Palace said that Harry lingered in his study well after midnight. No elevated voice, no outburst, just being still. Determination. He is said to have asked for internal logs, details of family events, staff notes, and previous complaints. There have been rumors before regarding problems with Camilla's family. Not anything big, just enough to make you feel uneasy. As the hours went by, aides who were close to him saw that he was becoming less focused and more quiet. He didn't make his choice on a whim. It was meticulous and calm. His message was ready by dawn. There is no official crest, no branding for the palace, just a modest post on his personal account that shocked royal observers all around the world. I won't let anything happen to my daughter, whether or not they are family. That was all. No tagging, no name, no long description, only 14 words. It's clear as glass, sharp like a knife. The public response was quick. People didn't have to wait long to put the pieces together. The message wasn't vague. It wasn't hard to understand. It was a warning shot from the father, a regal statement that this time, not speaking up would not be seen as acceptance. For those in the know, the meaning was very plain. William had just made his position known. It wasn't about royal rules or titles. It was about something far more personal. Respect, boundaries, and the right to protect his daughter without having to say sorry. At the palace, aides rushed to deal with the aftermath. Some people said to make a statement to clear things up. Some others said to get in touch with Camilla's crew behind the scenes. But William wouldn't change his mind. This wasn't public relations. There was no mistake about this. It was a line being cut into the royal stone, and for those who thought the comment made to Charlotte would just get lost in the cacophony of royal news, they were about to learn something new. What Prince William did, while he wasn't in public. The public only saw one sentence. Only one. But within the palace, that phrase impacted like a stone, thrown into calm water, spreading waves in all directions. After Prince William's subtle but clear social media post, things changed behind closed doors within hours. There were no official announcements. There were no meetings planned, but orders started to go quickly, discreetly, and surely through the royal halls. At the top, Lola Parker is one name. William gave a simple order to his senior aides, without any fuss or argument. Lola's name had to be taken off all guest lists for the future. No exclusions. No reasons. She wouldn't be present if the event was private, family-oriented, or had anything to do with the kid. This punishment wasn't meant to get a lot of attention. It was a very clear line that had been drawn. The workers at the palace, however shocked, did what they were told. They knew better than to question an order from the future king, especially one that was given in a voice that was colder than any royal order. Lola's tickets to royal parties, taken away. Her place at the yearly family garden party, gone. Even little holiday parties that the press didn't see were off limits. The change was complete, and no one was given any official notice. At first it didn't get a lot of attention outside the palace, but it didn't take long. Just a few days later, reporters were getting ready to cover a special royal charity event that traditionally included several generations of the royal family. When the pictures came out, sharp-eyed people noticed something odd. Camilla was there, smiling sweetly. The kids from Wales looked great too, but Lola, who was always silently there, was nowhere to be found. The tabloids were the first to notice. The next morning, a headline appeared. Where was Camilla's granddaughter? The internet jumped in. There was a lot of talk on social media about what might happen. Was she sick? Are you going somewhere? Or had something happened behind the scenes? It didn't take long for the truth to come out. A source close to the palace told one reporter that Lola Parker had been taken off the royal guest list on purpose, and that wasn't a mistake made by a clerk. The press went crazy over that one leak. Royal journalists started to overthink things. Morning shows talked on whether it was right to leave a child out. Hashtags came out of nowhere. Charlotte's safety? William makes a cue, but the response inside Clarence's house was much more personal. Camilla was quite angry. As soon as she found out that Lola's access had been taken away, she left a private meeting in a rage and demanded answers. It wasn't just an issue of following the rules for her, it was a betrayal. William made a stealthy, planned move that hurt the core of all she had worked for 20 years. Inclusion, acceptance, heritage. She is said to have confronted Charles and demanded that the decision be changed. Charles hardly even looked up from his paper. He responded simply, "It's been taken care of." And at that time, Camilla realized something scary. She didn't have a say for the first time. This wasn't just a choice, it was a sign. But what did the future king truly mean? Stay tuned. Camilla fights back. Over the years, Camilla had seen a lot. Criticism from the public, royal cold shoulders, the long twisting route from controversy to acceptance. But nothing could have prepared her for this. One day, her granddaughter had been sitting pleasantly with the royal family. Then, without a word, she was gone from it. No reason, not talking, nothing but quiet. She assumed at first that it must have been a mistake. It's possible that Lola just missed the list for one event. It's possible that someone in the palace made a mistake in writing. But when Lola was excluded again, and then again, Camilla knew better. This wasn't by chance, it was on purpose. And so, behind the heavy doors of Clarence's residence, she confronted Charles. She added,
You know what's going on, in a low, tight voice. He's ignoring her and acting like she doesn't exist. Charles, always calm, didn't look up. He had been looking over the political briefs from that morning with his reading spectacles low on his nose. He said the same two phrases that had been showing up all over the palace lately without even stopping. It's taken care of. Camilla looked at him in shock. Handled, she repeated, her voice getting higher. She is a kid, my grandchild. This wasn't a formal warning. It was unjust, passionate, and personal. Charles didn't get involved. He didn't often change his opinion. She said with anger, "You're choosing silence over your own family." He made a public declaration, a threat. And now he's punishing Lola for something you didn't even inquire about. Charles, on the other hand, stayed the same. Camilla stormed out of the room, leaving the conversation incomplete. But she thought the damage had already been done, not just to Lola but also to her. After 20 years of carefully avoiding royal expectations and getting used to traditions that weren't hers, she had finally earned a place at the heart of the kingdom. At least that's what she thought. Now it seemed like the door had closed again. This time though, it wasn't the public that was judging her, it was family. But it wasn't just William who hurt the most. Kate was the one. Camilla thought the Princess of Wales had done her job too well, not loud enough, too elegant, too hard to Kate hadn't spoken anything in public since the occurrence. No interviews, no leaks, no side looks at the reporters. She just held Charlotte's hand, stayed close, and stayed calm. To the outside world, she looked like a perfect mother who was calm and protected. Camilla thought it was a trap, a master class in how to persuade people without saying a word. People had already made up their minds about Kate protecting her daughter, and there was no room for any other ideas. Camilla told a close aide that she understands what she's doing. Always so well groomed, so naive, but she isn't. She is in charge of this without having to do anything. Kate didn't answer, of course, she never did it, but the more Camilla attempted to get people to support her in private, the more she felt it. The area surrounding her getting cooler. The talks are shorter, the courteous smiles turned into a tactful distance. There was more to it than just a granddaughter. It was about losing ground and understanding the palace wasn't on her side. But as Camilla felt the cold change inside the palace, was her power fading away for good? Keep watching to find out. Camilla tries to use the press to her advantage. The palace didn't say anything for days. There was no formal answer, no carefully thought out statements, no soft words to calm things down, but the quiet spoke louder than any press statement ever could. The public made their choice without any commotion, and they selected Charlotte. Pictures from the event had already spread like wildfire. One picture stood out, Charlotte leaning into Kate's arms, her little face pulled close, and Kate's palm covering the now familiar flower pin. There were a lot of comments that used adjectives like grace, motherhood and protection. Charlotte, who was just 9, had become the center of a tale that was much greater than her. She was more than simply a princess now. She was a daughter who had been quietly protected. Camilla could feel the change. She fought it in the only way she knew how. The news articles started to show up within a week. Lola was painted as misunderstood in sympathetic articles. People who knew the family said she was a smart, curious girl who didn't mean any harm. She was just caught up in the moment. Some people agreed with Camilla's story and said that the palace had overreacted, and that the true problem was that royal houses didn't talk to each other. But it didn't work. People didn't believe it. People were very harsh in the comments on those stories. One individual wrote, "You don't come for a child." Someone else stated that Charlotte exhibited more class in 5 minutes than Camilla's camp did all year. Twitter was swamped with hashtags like Dame Charlotte and Keep It Royal. Even royal traditionalists, who generally stay quiet during family fights, spoke out to praise William's quiet strength. Inside Kensington Palace, William watched it all unfold. He didn't want anyone to feel sorry for him. He hadn't planned to make anyone angry, but now that it was there, he wasn't going to let it go to waste. William took his children to their own drawing parlor one calm evening, away from advisors and courtiers. George sat on the rug with his legs crossed. Charlotte curled up close to Kate, while Louis hummed softly to himself. That's when William said it, without wrath, yet without hesitation, clearly and plainly. "Camilla is not your grandma. Diana is your real grandmother." The words weren't meant to hurt. They were supposed to be free. The line has been too blurry for too long. Titles, not relationships. Give people their roles. But William had decided that royal hierarchy would no longer decide who would inherit. It would be formed by love, remembrance, and fidelity. He also made another choice in that same he only told Kate and his closest advisors about it. Royal history would not forget about Camilla, but she would be gently taken out of its future. There are no other portraits but Diana's. Charlotte and her brother's stories don't say anything about it. No room in the personal symbols that show what the crown means to them. The monarchy would know her by her title, but William's house, heart, and the eyes of the following generation would forget her. But what change, unseen, started to shake the palace from the inside after William's calm stay with us to learn more. Camilla initially noticed the quiet freeze inside the palace walls in the slightest aspects. Fewer briefings, less invites. People who used to greet her warmly now only smiled politely and said little else. People listened to her ideas, but they didn't always use them. Even while she was still needed, her presence started to feel more like a ceremony than a respect. She tried to push back and regain her power. She had discreet meetings with aides she had known for a long time, called on friends in the press, and even made subtle appeals to Charles at dinner, but his answers were still short and distant. He would say, "Let's not stir more than we need to. The family is worn out." It was harder to face the truth. William didn't have to shout or take away titles. He had just moved forward, and the palace had come after. What about Camilla? In name, she was still queen consort, but her voice no longer boomed through the important hall. Not when it comes to family decisions. Not in the past. She had worked hard for years to get there, but it only took one moment. One line drawn in Charlotte's defense, that wasn't said, to remind her that acceptance doesn't necessarily mean belong. The future of the crown was moving on without her at its heart. But what do you think? Was this the only option for William to defend his family's legacy, or did he go too far? We'd love to hear what you think. So please like, share, and subscribe for more royal news.